Our program today, our speaker is Edgar Farrera. He is the Director of Sustainability at the Circuit of Americas. Edgar is actually a native Texan, and he, through the years, has worked in lending his skills to aviation, military, performing arts projects, and he has several major responsibilities in his current position. One of them is environmental compliance measures, dealing with various government and private compliance issues. The second is green management and green event management. This is a field that was in its infancy 10 years ago. Today, it's a very important part of the work that Edgar is doing. And then the third is STEM collaboration, science, technology, engineering, and math. Collaborating with schools, collaborating with universities to advance STEM education. Edgar has an architecture degree from UT Austin, and he is LEED accredited. He's a member of the Central Texas chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council, and also has held a number of leadership roles in key organizations related to his profession. So let's have a great round rock welcome for Edgar Farrera.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I got to sit next to Laura, and she gave me a free ice cream card, so I got to thank her. And then I can go work it out at the fitness place afterwards, right? Well, we're busy trying to find people to come to Central Texas to increase your sales taxes and your hotel taxes. So I'm going to tell you about some of the about our project, what's new at the Circuit of the Americas. And then the second half of the presentation goes into what I do and some of our sustainability measures there at CODA. See if I can operate. So this was our site, May 2010, when the announcement was made that Formula One Racing had selected Central Texas as the new American venue for Grand Prix racing. It was Senor Elroy. And you've been there? Who's been out to the site? Okay, good. Farmland in Elroy, Texas, and a lot of work had to be done between this time and November of last year when we had our inaugural event. This is what it looks like. This is at least what it looked like last November during the F1 race, and we've had some improvements since then. So our mission is really to provide world-class experience for premier motorsports and entertainment. And that's important for us. We always stress that we're not just about the cars and the racing. It really is truly both a sports and an entertainment complex. And I think that's becoming clearer and clearer as time goes on. We've got about 1,500 acres out there. About 400 of them are the project that you see today that's been developed. We have a lot of other land out there. Depending on how you kind of add up the construction numbers, it's $400 or $450 million investment on the site. It's a 3.4-mile track. Our track can actually be broken into two segments. There's a short track and then there's kind of a back track. But there's shortcuts in the middle that can break it down. If you were out there for the Australian V8 event in May, you saw the cars running on one of the short courses. They didn't use the full track. We've got 130-foot elevation change. So our signature turn is turn 1, the big hill. The cars start immediately from the go. They have to go up this giant hill and do this hard left turn. And that's kind of become the signature turn. There really is nothing else like it anywhere in the world. And the drivers find it very challenging and they like it. This is a graphic that Statesman prepared last year, and it gives you a sense of the size of our site. Our site's actually bigger than that, but we're the green circle. Zilker Park is that blue one. The UT football stadium is that little white dot in the middle. So it's definitely a big facility. Our Grand Plaza is the site of our concerts, and I think it's going to play a big role next year when we have the X Games out here. We'll have a lot of activities out there. It really is kind of the heart of our complex. It's 10 acres, well, actually 20 acres, and it was designed by the local firm Miro Rivera. It's won a lot of architectural awards. We're very proud of it. It also has the 250-foot observation tower that's got some pretty spectacular views at the edge of the top. Some more about the facilities, the main grandstand, the paddock building. It's got a media center, which doubles as an event center, medical building, handle full trauma. Last year for the Formula One race, we had a total of about 265,000 people out there over 3 days. Our peak attendance was on Sunday, the race day. We had over 120,000 people there. It was the second largest attendance on the F1 calendar. Last year we had 20 races. This year we have 19 races. So that's definitely our premier event. One of the things that's interesting that's changed from last year is NBC now has television rights to Formula One. Last year it was Speed. And so with NBC, we expect a lot more penetration kind of globally into in terms of the television audience that we can garner. And certainly the race here in Central Texas is one of the races that NBC is going to be, we've already started promoting. So every time there's a race, they always mention the race here. It's going to be coming up in November, and we'll actually see it televised on the main network this November. We had people here from 50 states and about 50 foreign countries last year. But it wasn't just F1. We had Grand Am in March. We had the MotoGP World Championship here in April. We also had the Australian V8 event in May. So that was just kind of the spring series. We've had a little bit of a break here in the summer, and we're getting ready to gear up for our fall events. Of course, it's not just motorsports, as I mentioned. Last April, we opened the Austin 360 Amphitheater. It seats 14,000 people. Austin is always kind of, they have the moniker the live music capital of the world. And since the South Park Meadows had closed some years ago, there really wasn't a large permanent outdoor venue in the region. And now with the amphitheater, we have that. So we're certainly capturing a lot of touring acts that were passing Texas by. So the touring acts usually are set up to either do an indoor show or an outdoor show. So now the outdoor shows have a place to be, and we've had 9 concerts. We're about halfway through our 2013 concert season. Tomorrow or Thursday, we have our beginning of kind of the second half of that concert season, and we're going to start having shows. So it's the backdrop is the observation tower. It's pretty spectacular. If you haven't been out there for a show, I certainly encourage you to have it. We certainly have a very eclectic mix of artists. I'm sure there's somebody there that can appeal to everyone's taste. We've had several large country acts, some popular acts. I think we have this is rap. Wiz Khalifa was there 2 nights. Some of the acts appeal to my kids more than others. We had Jimmy Buffett, and I had some extra tickets and my kids. So, there's something for everyone. But one of my old bosses was like, absolutely, I love that. And then perhaps the most exciting thing that's happened out there recently is 2 weeks ago we had the announcement that we've been selected as the new venue for the X Games here in North America. So the X Games are the ESPN Extreme Games, or action games, action sports is the term they use now. They've been in Los Angeles for 11 years. In fact, this week they're beginning in LA for the last time. And then next May they'll be here in Central Texas. And most of those events will be happening out at the circuit. There's some water events and some other events that'll happen outside. But we think that's tremendous. It's exciting. It really underlines the fact that we're not just about motorsports, that we're also about entertainment, that we're also about festivals. And with the facilities we have, we can put on a really strong program and reach out to another audience, to a different demographic perhaps than we had before. We also think that the X Games is kind of a great fit culturally with region. The games emphasize health, youth, excitement. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. And these will be, again, 4 days coming up in May. So already we're gearing up, because that doesn't leave us that much time to get ready. So I think these are from, I think the photos from one of the X Games in Brazil. We've also got another event we just announced. This October we have the Sports and Vintage Championship. So this will be a motorsport event with historic cars. So this will appeal, I think, more to kind of the hardcore connoisseur of motorsports. And you can see some beautiful machines out there, some from 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, from all kinds of ways. So that should be a fun event. Looking forward to that. And what do I do out here? Right? We have concerts, we have races, now we're going to have the X Games, and we have to green them all up some. And there's a couple of reasons why this is important to us. One is we made a commitment when we came to Central Texas. We made a commitment that this project would be developed and operated in an environmentally responsible fashion. And in fact, with the City of Austin, we have an agreement called the Exhibit A agreement, which is part of kind of our contractual relationship with them, that has about over 50 specific environmental initiatives that we are to address every year and report on. And if you go to my office, I have 2 binders, each one about the size of the phone book back when we had phone books. And it's just documentation to demonstrate contractual compliance. And so they're very serious, and they go through everything just like you do in any other contract, and to kind of double check and make sure we're meeting our commitment. But we're not just doing this because we said because somebody's making us do it. We're also doing it because we understand that it's important to remain relevant to the new generation of fans, that the environment is increasingly more important to potential sponsors, to automakers, to the teams, to the people who watch it on television around the world. And if we want to remain relevant in the 21st century, this is not something that we can ignore, that we need to be a 21st century company and address these topics. We know we have a role to play as a facility with one of the top tracks in the continent, in the world, for low carbon technology development, the future of transportation, and that there's a lot of things we can do really to minimize that impact on the environment. So I'm going to show you some of the things we're actually doing out there. So the 3 areas where we impact the environment most significantly are, of course, on the track with the motorsports, in the operation of the venue itself, the facilities, and then the events that we put on. If you think about one of our major events, essentially we're becoming a smaller, medium-sized city overnight. We're going from having perhaps a few hundred people on site on any given day to having 250,000 people on site over a weekend. So that gives us all of the problems and all of the infrastructure issues of a community. We have huge waste issues. We have to feed everybody. We have to get people in. We have to get people out. We have a lot of water we have to use. And all those things have to be ramped up, dealt with, and then scaled back down immediately the week after. So those present some unique issues for us. But all 3 of these topics can kind of be turned around into something positive, something that at least minimizes and mitigates the impact. When we talk about motorsports, we can look at ways to drive the development of clean mobility solutions. We talk about our venue, we can look at ways to run it as a high-performance facility. And we can look at turning our events to green events, at least what we can. A couple of things we've done that touch on some of the STEM outreach we've done with some colleges and universities, and also begin to address the issue of kind of trying to kickstart or do our role in helping clean mobility solutions in Central Texas. It's the EcoCar2 program we had out there in January. This is the Department of Energy, a program that they do with General Motors for the participating universities over a 3-year period they convert a gasoline car into a hybrid. Not necessarily that they're developing new technologies, but it is giving the students hands-on practical experience in solving these engineering solutions. And then, of course, the graduates of the program become ideal candidates for the automakers to recruit for some of their real hybrid programs. But we had them here at the circuit for a few days in January. They brought one of the prototype cars. F1 in Schools is a program geared towards high school students. We had a teacher session out at the track in January, and in March we had the first ever Texas Regional. We had students from participating high schools from around the state. They came. The 3 top teams got to travel to Michigan for the national championship. And from there, one of the Texas teams is coming back and will be in the World Championship, which will be here in Austin in November. Well, there in Austin in November, for the first time ever in the United States. So we're very proud of that. It's going to be about 400 students from around the world. And so they're going to experience Texas, they're going to experience the United States. They're going to go out to the event, and they'll be competing. What they do is they design from scratch a small, about shoebox size, little, looks like a formula car. It's fired with a little gas cartridge that goes in the back. But it's not just about, it's not like the Cub Scouts, it's not just kind of a soapbox on steroids. They have to design this on a computer system, so they have to learn to operate a CAD system in high school, which is pretty impressive. They have to do an aerodynamic analysis, again online on the computer, while still in high school. They're graded on, they have to do a marketing presentation, a business presentation, a business plan. They're also graded on their graphics. They prepare a display, a pit display for the judges. And finally, they're also, of course, how the car performs. And so all those criteria combined determines the winner. So it's a great program. We're proud we're going to have some kids from Central Texas at the World Championship, and we're proud we're going to be hosting all these kids from around the world in a couple of months. We also had the Formula Sun Grand Prix there last month. So this is a collegiate solar competition, and I'm going to tell you, these kids are dedicated. It was 107 degrees, if you remember a couple of weeks ago. 107 degrees. The track temperature was 136, I think, degrees. The surface of the track there. These cars have no air conditioning, and they're covered in solar panels. Okay? So they're covered in glass. They have no AC. I looked at some of the cars, some have ducts and digs, and I said, oh, okay, so you're capturing the air to at least you have that natural ventilation as you're driving around the track. You're like, no, that ventilation is for our batteries. We want to keep our batteries full. So it was all about the cars, all about the performance. These cars are they're limited to 65 miles per hour on the track. They can go faster. They have all of the power that they generate is from the solar panels. So they're electric cars. The solar panels charge their battery that then runs their electric motors that propels them. They have about as much power as your hair dryer. Seriously, they have about 2 horsepower. But you know, they're super aerodynamic, and they just keep going and going so they can accelerate. What they did is they were on the track for 3 days, 8 hours a day, and the winner was determined by who covered the most distance. In Oregon State, they covered almost 700 miles, going round and round and round, just with the power of the sun and 0 emissions. So it was a neat event. Here's one of the cars from Michigan being worked on. UT participated. There they are on the track. That's the winner, Oregon. That's the orange car, and then Iowa State, which came in third, kind of went behind it. It was actually a close finish. I mean, this is actually, you know, at the end they're actually kind of neck and neck. So it's kind of fun to watch, though. Not a very loud event. And we're looking at returning this event to Central Texas again next year. And if we're successful, every other year they combine a cross-country event. So if we're able to bring them back next year, they would also leave from Central Texas and drive probably to Canada. So maybe if we can get them to drive through Round Rock, that would be kind of on the way. And they kind of make it an event. They do a 1,500-mile journey in these parts, because it's not enough for them to have been out on the track for a week in the heat. They want to do it again cross country. Anyway, so that was a fun event. One of the reasons we do this also is because we know we have a role to play in a sense of a bit of a bully pulpit. There was a study done recently that said 13% of Americans say they follow science. That's 13%. But 61% say they follow sports, not just motorsports, any sport. And so that tells you the power that sports have in terms of communicating messages. Again, whether it's football or baseball or whatever. And motorsports certainly have a large audience. You can see some of the numbers there. 500 million people watch F1 on TV, 50 million people watch Monster on some of the other numbers there. The sports have a position to play in terms of being able to showcase issues. And one of the issues we have today, one of the social issues that's very much on in the news and in the media and a very real issue are issues of dealing with the environment. So being a kind of a sports and an event-driven business, we understand that we can use those to communicate how important they are and to kind of softly demonstrate to people that it's possible to address these issues in a profitable fashion. We're a for-profit business and kind of without having to kind of ram it down anyone's throat and really preach to them. There's still some issues to be dealt with kind of the hardcore fan. There's still some reluctance. There was a survey done recently from F1 magazine that said, do you think it's important for F1 to pioneer green technologies? People said, absolutely. 2 to 1. They said, yes, we should. They said, well, what if it makes the car sound different? We're like, no, I don't know. So there's still some cultural issues we have to overcome. These are very much real. One of the next opportunities we'll have to see some of the new technology on display is actually in September when we have the American Le Mans and the World Endurance Championship out there. The American Le Mans series is the only racing series that's Department of Energy, Environmental Protection Agency, Society of Automotive Engineers, sanctioned green racing. So how can that be? Well, there's something called the Green Racing Protocol, which takes into account basically how much power does it take to move the car with the fewest amount of emissions. There's a formula, there's a point system based on fuel efficiency, the type of fuel that they use. So in American Le Mans and World Endurance, you'll actually see cars on the track that are using different types of fuels. You'll see kind of your traditional gasoline cars, you'll see diesels, you'll see diesel electrics. Most recently, the diesel electrics have kind of been ruling the sport, Audi and Toyota. Like both run hybrids, kind of the top teams in the World Endurance Championship Series. In the American Le Mans, we had a car last year, we got a photo of it, and this year too, the Delta Wing, very kind of a radical departure from your traditional vehicle. You can see it's not a three-wheel car, it actually has 4 wheels, it has 2 tiny wheels that are spaced very closely together at the front, but it's got this kind of odd triangular layout, and this car was able to basically accomplish everything the competitors did on half the fuel. And what they did here is they really worked on material science. So it's got some very advanced materials, some very lightweight and strong materials. And by having a much lighter car, there's less weight that has to be pushed around, and so they're able to make do with less. So all of these are kind of different solutions to that idea of how can we be more efficient. And they're being driven really by this ALMS and the World Endurance. And we'll be able to see, I don't think the Delta Wing is coming here to the Circuit of the Americas, but we'll see some of the other cars here in September. That's going to be very exciting, kind of from a technology point of view. We've also partnered with the Pike Powers Lab, which is located at the old Robert Miller site in Austin. And this is part of the Pecan Street Labs group. And so they've done a lot of research, are doing a lot of research currently on electric vehicles and how they interact with electrical grids. So we have a partnership with them to collaborate on some research. We're hoping we think some exciting things will come out of that. Then at the site as well, we have a creek that runs through the site. There's been a creek restoration restoration effort, remove some of the invasive species, trying to get that area cleaned up and restored after about 100 years of kind of intensive agriculture in the area. We've got some blackland restoration areas. We planted over 1,000 new trees. So these are really a lot of the things you see on our site and in our buildings are the types of things that you would see at any other campus. We have 1,500 acres, 400 acres that are developed. Same kind of things you would see at a corporate campus, perhaps at a junior college campus. Anyone who's got that amount of land has to deal with these issues. Nothing particularly unique to it being a motorsport facility, but certainly a lot of issues that have to be dealt with before in Kansas Park, Texas. Our buildings, again, we subscribe to Green Choice Energy, which is Austin Energy's wind-derived energy, and so we have a subscription, so half of our non-event power comes from that program. We've got some sub-metering, we can do some demand response if when there's a spike, and Austin Energy needs to scale down our consumption to do that, and water conserving fixtures. You know, we're a new facility, so we were able to take advantage of all the new technologies and kind of the newer building codes as well. We've done tracking on our greenhouse gas emissions, and we've implemented a number of programs to offset or reduce them. We actually did purchase carbon offsets last year. We also did a lot of recycling and composting that avoided emissions, and then we're participating in some tree planting programs, which also help kind of reduce carbon. So we're keeping data on all of this so that we can see how we're doing and see what we might be able to do better. In terms of the events themselves, we have a green volunteer program in place that's been very active. We're very fortunate that the local community really values the environment. I think we've had well over 100 people who've kind of come through and been trained and participated in our events. And so they'll go out and help us with our bike program so people can cycle. They'll staff our bike ballet. They'll help us. We have some that we assign to kind of our no idling police. We have a no idling policy, so we'll go around and if we see vehicles that are just left on, we'll politely ask people to please, turn off the vehicle and not just have it running and spewing emissions. We have the most intensive part is the composting and recycling effort that we have in place for the events. So people will staff that. And it's grown as I think as the fans begin to understand what can be composted and what can't, and kind of becomes more and more successful as it becomes more educated. This was the results from last November's event. Certainly there's room for improvement. This is all of our waste. So the blue part, 134 tons went to the landfill. That was just trash. But we did manage to recycle 24 tons. We composted another 4 tons, and almost 5 tons went to food rescue to the food bank. That was perfectly good food that didn't need to be thrown away, and so it was donated. So it was, a little more than, certainly room for improvement here, but it's not bad for our very first effort. So this was the very first event we had, and so we've had the program in place ever since, and we're tracking our results for all the other events, and hopefully we will do significantly better this year, so we'll see. One area we do need to, I think, improve upon is communication with our fans. This is at one of our concerts. We had this Eco Village. Actually, one of the artists who performed traveled with this, and it was great. It was a great kind of outreach effort that they had, and I think this is something that we need to do more of on our own, and just kind of have this outreach to the community and tell them what we're doing. And then finally, it's not just kind of green events off the track, also green events on the track. We'll have our first cycling event on August 31st on Saturday. The Tour of Austin is the 3-day event. One of the days we'll be out there, and it's open, I think, both professional and amateur cyclists. So that'll be our first kind of human-powered event, and I'm looking forward to that as well. I think we'll see more of this during the X Games, so we'll have more biking events. So I know it jumped around a little bit. There's a lot of things happening over there, so sorry it was a little scattershot, but I think I've got a few minutes for some questions. Any questions? Perfect. I'll hang around if you want to come ask me in person afterwards. Thank you.